Welcome back to another episode of Just Talking with Joe Burdick. I'm really excited to talk to my next guest. I've been a big fan of his for over 20 years. He's a comedian, a writer, director, a real podcaster, pickleball, husband, father, Emmy Award winner, and the creator of my favorite show of all time, Entourage, Mr. Doug Ellin. Doug, thanks for doing this with me. I appreciate it.
You got it. What's happened? I love that this is a real American podcast. I don't
Oh
even know what
man,
I
I'm telling
signed up for here.
yeah, I'm so happy that I don't know how I did it, but I talked you into doing this and I get to talk about my favorite show a little bit and this is going to be great. So thank you. I'm sure
No
there's
problem.
a million things you'd rather be doing, especially with the little bit of drama you had this morning, but I appreciate you carving out a little time for me.
To be honest with you, I love doing podcasts, and B, every like once every couple of weeks, I just respond to somebody and go, sure, why not? And to me, it's good to talk to people, and I didn't even check who you were, what your podcast is, and B, it's good practice for me.
Yeah. And me too. I just started this last year as a way to reach out to interesting people just to share their stories a little bit. And, people I think I want to talk to. And I've been following you on social media for a couple of years and I thought it would be fun to reach out and I'm glad you did it.
Yeah. So we were going to do this morning, and my American German Shepherd had a seizure of the likes I've never seen anything like it. I was just outside with my baby, and all of a sudden, she was convulsing and throwing up and peeing on herself and shaking. I mean, I honestly thought she was gonna die, and I rushed her to the ER where they have absolutely no answers for me except for every one of her tests is normal at the moment, and now she looks like nothing happened. But my day started at 5:30 a.m. and it's been going since. But thank God,
Wow.
at least for now, she's okay. So.
Well, that's good. All right. Well, listen, I've listened to a few of your podcasts and first of all, you're a New York guy. What do you miss in New York right about now out there in California?
Well, I mean, I've been gone from New York. It's crazy to think that I lived here twice as long as I lived in New York, but I still feel like a New Yorker.
Mhm.
Obviously, New York has gone through many transformations, and maybe another one now with the socialist mayor potentially being our, and so I love New York. I'm going Tuesday, and it's still one of the great places in the world with the greatest food in the world, and a lot of the greatest people in the world. But I think everywhere right now just feels like we're in a very lost place, and I don't know how it's going to shape up. So we'll see.
Well, I know that state you're in right now in California. It's there's a lot going on out there. I've got friends that are out there, and they're questioning why they're still there.
Yeah, no, it's really tough to watch. A city that you love so much really just decline the way it has. Now,
Right.
I like to think it's goes in cycles, and there's lots of reactions to many things, and whether you hate Donald Trump, I knew what the left was doing with Biden was going to lead to Trump again, and if you don't like what Trump is doing now, it may lead to something far worse next. And I think that happens in countries all the time, and it's a scary thought because I think, again, no matter what you think about Trump, I don't even like to get into the
Right.
politics of it, but I think that right now we're living in a country where so many people feel very unhappy about various things, and that will always lead to charismatic people coming in and selling them on something. And you hope at some point we find one that sells us on something that's good for everybody and can calm, to be honest, both sides down, because I think there's just lunacy going on the extremes of both sides, and it's pretty terrifying. So.
Yeah, 100% agree. I say all the time, I'm a veteran. I didn't serve for this stuff that's going on in our country. I didn't serve for it. I don't even recognize our country. The anti-Semitism in this country is, I can't believe it.
Well, it's really it's a simple thing, and I always hate talking about anti-Semitism because I'm Jewish, and then it feels like I'm just looking out for myself. But every society, when anti-Semitism starts to come out like this, it's the start of the downfall of a society, and it always leads to far worse things than just attacking Jews. So I think that you are seeing that, and it's really far more than anti-Semitism. It's anti-Americanism. And again, you can hate the president, you can hate the government. I mean, that's been a thing of this country forever. But the wild thing, I mean, I saw, Rebecca Lobo apologize on TV the other day for saying that's what's great about America, that you can disagree. And the truth is, until people start waking up that, yeah, that is what's great about America. And if you disagree in Iran, you don't get to say, I'm sorry on national television while you're getting paid hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars. And I think, somehow we have to get patriotism back. And even if you hate, again, what your government is doing, we have to find a way that people can go. At least you got a chance. You had 4 years on the left. Now you have 4 years on the right. My guess is, I don't care what anyone thinks, it's going to swing back and forth and back and forth. And hopefully at some point it gets to a middle ground where everybody can kind of be peaceful. Otherwise, we're going to have a war. I mean, I really am feeling for the first time in my life that I've never seen the aggression on both sides that is just so kind of horrifying. And, to watch, again, I'm always like, I understand like the police and the military are kind of a symbol of what the government is, but the police work for what the government is, whether it's Democrats or the Republicans. And when people start to go after cops and military, I don't care if it's ICE. If you don't like what ICE is doing, go deal with your politicians and get your laws changed, because they're just doing their jobs that they were hired to do. And I can't even stand watching, random kids being attacked who are just trying to do the job that they were asked to do, which for the most part, we hope is keeping us all safer, so it's very frustrating.
Yep. I agree 100%. So yeah, I always try to stay away from the politics, but I know that out there in California, it's a train wreck right now with the governor and the mayor and all that stuff. And how'd you guys do with the fires? Did they get close to you?
Yeah. Oh, I evacuated like 5 times, and thought my house was going up. And even though it didn't, my insurance rates just keep flying to a point of, I don't know how anyone can possibly handle what's going on here. So, like I said, I'm hoping it's cyclical. The New York in the 70s, early 80s, and LA when I first got out here was like, the carjacking capital of the world. And, you were told if you blink your brights at anybody, they're going to shoot you in a gang, ceremony. So we had a long time of paradise out here. And I think, where a lot of people were like, oh, we got through COVID so well. I kind of knew there was going to be just craziness afterwards, and there is that right now, and far more than and I do not like Bass or Newsom, but these city councils have so much power, and I don't even know how they got the power or why, but it's very hard to unwind it, and it's very hard to when you have a system where people are getting paid by the government, like they don't want to lose their job. So they're going to do what they have to do to keep that job. And that's really where the rub is. And it's very terrifying because it almost seems like there is no way to turn this around right now. And it just keeps getting worse and worse. And again, it's not too exaggerated. I'm not talking about ICE protests. I'm just talking about daily life out here, having, not worrying about your house getting broken into, not worrying about getting robbed in the middle of the street. These were things that were not on my mind in the slightest 5 years ago, and they are pretty much on my mind all the time now. So
yeah, when I joined the military coming from Cleveland, I got a chance to pick my orders anywhere I wanted to go in the country, and I chose California. I wanted to experience California, and I loved it. I was out there in the 80s. We're about the same age. Being out there in the 80s, I absolutely loved California. I haven't been back since I got out of the military.
I mean, look, there's still obviously some incredible things about it. In my opinion, it's the most beautiful state. It's got the most diversity of any type of, situation, from skiing to beaches to, hiking. It has everything. And the cultural diversity is actually a great thing out here. And the food out here is amazing and everything is. But, when you're paying the highest taxes in the country, you want to be safe. You want to be secure, and you want your kids to have a childhood that, that is Americana, and it does not feel like that is remotely possible right now.
Right. Well, let's talk about you. One of the things that I love about you is that you gambled on yourself coming out of high school. you told your parents what you wanted, and you did something that was so, I don't know, ballsy. You just said, I'm going to California, and you did it. And you've been there ever since.
Yeah, and
So
look, I don't like to overstate it because I know there is a world now where I get it. I was not from a wealthy family, but my parents had enough to go. We're going to pay your rent. We're going to help you get started out there, and we're going to make sure you don't have to wait tables till 3 a.m, which a lot of my friends were doing at the time when they started. And I was fortunate enough to be able to wake up during the day, and type and try to give it a shot. And they gave me, I think they gave me 24 months to try to see if I got any traction, and they would pay my rent. So that was obviously an incredibly fortunate situation that I had that a lot of people don't have. So I get that. I get how hard it can be to start making it with nothing behind you whatsoever. But that being said, I worked my ass off. I focused on that goal, which I had no training for and no connections for when I got here. And, I definitely had some fortunate breaks. And, I've had the ups and downs, though, as I, portrayed in Entourage many times. Those were more my experiences than Mark Wahlberg, who the show's loosely based on. He hasn't had too many downs, if ever. And, that's par for the course out here for 99% of the people. And that was where I started.
yeah, that's pretty awesome. When you were out there, so you did Fat Beach,
Yeah.
and I heard you made what, $11,000 on that movie?
Yeah, $11,000, and it's been playing on cable for 30 years. So the producers made some money, and also, you take. I'm the only one who takes any abuse for the movie, so they just got paid. I'm the one who has to, and I would have obviously if it was considered good by many. Although again, I couldn't be more proud of it. It was something we shot in 6 days, and again, it was not a movie that I woke up and said, you know what, I'm dying to do. I got hired right out of film school by someone who saw a short film that I did. We shot with no money and limited time. I got one of my film buddies at school, Darren Aronofsky, who's now one of the biggest directors in the world, to shoot second unit on it. He doesn't put it on his resume, but we got what you want to do, because you can look at the film business as you're a pure artist, or you can look at it as a business. And once you understand, no matter what you think you are, it is a business. So we took $100,000 film that someone let me direct, which, as I said, when they hired me and gave me $11,000, I was like, wow, I'm working. This is amazing. But we made it a profitable movie, and that's what you have to do if you want to continue on,
Right. And when you started doing Entourage, did you have any idea when you were writing that movie or writing that show that people, it was going to be a cultural phenomenon?
No, of course not. I mean, when I was writing that show, I was just praying I could get paid, to be honest with you, because I was really looking at myself at 28 when I had some success, financial success, where I was able to buy myself a house and start a family and all that. And all of a sudden, I had done an independent movie, which again, goal when someone hires you to do an independent movie, if you can sell it to a studio for more than the budget, then you have done your job. But I did a movie called Kissing a Fool that was released on 2,200 screens, which is almost unheard of for a movie like that. And it didn't perform the way somebody expected it to perform. So I was pretty much out of luck at 28, 29 when things had gone fairly well for me for the first 6 or 7 years. So when Entourage came about, when we sold it to HBO, that day, because HBO was really the only game in town at that point to make something of quality, which is what we hoped to do. We thought we made it, but that meant nothing. They paid me $50,000. I worked for the next 2 years on a script over and over and over and over and over. And finally they said yes. And we shot it. And until the day it came out, when all of a sudden the reviews, which, as the culture has turned on a lot of us over the last 5-7 years, the reviews were phenomenal from the New York Times and from papers like that today would torture us and say, what is this misogynistic crap? But so it wasn't really until 2 years after we sold it that I thought we were on our way to something. Never imagining, the heights that we did get to. But
Well, how hard was it getting that cast? Because you nailed it with every one of those guys.
Well, I mean, hard is finding the right people and putting them together. And, every one of them. I mean, Jeremy Piven, I wrote it for, and I asked him to do it, and how to get HBO approval to let him do it. But he was the one guy that I actually knew. The rest were all interesting ways that we got them, and difficult. I mean, Kevin Connolly was retired from acting. He was sick of the business. And we saw every single person in this town for what I had envisioned, and nothing was even remotely close until someone said, there's this guy, Kevin Connolly, who says he's not acting anymore. And I met with him and said, you are the guy. And luckily HBO agreed with me. Adrian and Jerry, who played Vincent Turtle, were represented by Steve Levinson, my producing partner on it, and they were great. And then Kevin Dillon walked in and said one line, and I was like, wow, we got lucky with this guy. So, but that was a 6-month process probably just to cast it and go, because what I wanted was authentic New Yorkers that were like I grew up, that felt like they were friends of mine since I was a kid, and we were fortunate enough to find it.
I thought every time I watched the show, drama, his lines were gold. Whatever scene was in, he was stealing it. I loved that character.
Listen, I like to think that every word that I ever wrote and every word that everybody else wrote was gold. But, when you have someone like Kevin Dillon, because I know, writing the script, when he walked in the first day, he said one line, and I was like, anything that I thought this character could be just went up 1,000%. And some people go, oh, he's not really acting. He's acting. He's making specific choices, and he has a unique, funny presence that was so perfect for that character that I honestly don't think anyone on the planet Earth would have been better than him. So, yeah,
no, I couldn't agree more. And Jerry, I have a funny story about Jerry. So my son and I were at the Cavs Knicks game during COVID, and we're sitting in the bar, and I hear this voice, and I'm like, damn, I know that voice. And I look, he's sitting right next to me, and he takes his mask. We were all wearing those stupid masks then. He takes his mask down, and I'm like, oh my God, it's Turtle. And I tell my son, and he doesn't watch TV or movies. And he's like, so I wait till we go out, and Jerry and his wife are sitting below the basket, and I'm sitting on seats 1 and 2, also courtside. We're staring at each other. And I don't get fanboy when I see celebrities anymore. I mean, I'm not impressed with that stuff anymore, but I'm like, oh my God, that's Jerry Ferrara. I got to do it. So I walked over right before the quarter started. And I know he thought I was going to say Entourage, but I went up to him and I said, listen, I never do this, but I'm a big fan of, and that's where I'm sure he thought Entourage, but I'm like, your character in Lone Survivor. I said, I'm a Navy veteran. I love that story, and I'm glad you were part of telling it. And he's like, oh, hey, thanks. And I'm like, can I get a selfie? And so we took one, and then I handed him one of my business cards. I said, if you ever need anything patriotic, let me know. I never heard back from him, but
I'm sure he was thrilled to get that, though, for real. I mean, it's when you get typecast into certain roles, to do that, I'm sure he loved that. He lives right near you too. So
yeah. In fact, the next day, my kids got a snow day. You guys don't get those in California. He got a snow day, and my son called or texted me and said, hey, Dad, they were at the rec center, and he's like, hey, Dad, Jerry Ferrara's in here playing basketball. Now, again, he didn't know who he was, but he remembered him from the night before. Nice. And I said, well, go up and play basketball with him. He likes shooting hoops. And about an hour later, I get a photo of him and Jerry Ferrara. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome meeting Turtle. But
he's a good man. And his voice, by the way, if you watch the show, his voice changed considerably. The accent, the New York's accent that was so authentic, you see how it shifts a little bit as he was in LA for 10 years. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And yeah, you're right. He does live close to me. So I know his wife is from around here or whatever. Yeah. So I haven't seen him since then, but I know he's around town.
Yeah.
So when you were casting, you had to have a long list of people wanting to get on that show, especially after it started getting popular after the first or second season. I mean, who was your favorite person that you got to work with on that show? There's so many people.
There are so many. I mean, I was very fortunate to have people that I've idolized my whole life that that I could get to say I worked with. I directed James Cameron, Martin Scorsese, I mean, we had like 7 or 8 Oscar winners on the show. And then the athletes, to get a call from LeBron James that he wants to be on the show. And for LeBron James to come up to me and go, now you look at these guys who are owning the whole world. But Dallas, I mean, Maverick and all his guys, Rich, He said, "This is my E, this is my turtle, this is my drama." That's how I met LeBron. So
Right.
all of those guys, Tom Brady, and it was just it was kind of like a fantasy factory, you know. In season 1, we couldn't get anybody. Like we had to beg Lamar Odom to do it season 1. And by the middle of season 2, we started getting calls, especially from the athletes. You know, the actors were always challenging, but you know, whoever it was, getting Matt Damon on the show, you know, and it's just lots of fun stuff.
And Val Kilmer, I mean, that role he played, you got to look twice, and then you're like, oh, that's Val Kilmer.
Yeah, it's funny how many people tell me they didn't realize that was Val Kilmer for years, and
I didn't at first.
yeah, and it was pretty special to get him. So
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. And the Tom Brady thing had to be one of my favorite. And again, Kevin Dillon stealing the show, man. He was that scene with him was when you guys were filming, was it all fun? As fun as it is watching it? Or was it a
90% of filming was fun. I mean, you know, we really did the show like a family. It was a party. The hard part for me was writing. The easy part was being on the set. And it was just time to, you know, make the laughs that we were having off camera, get them on camera. And we had that, you know, and, you know, even the Tom Brady thing, like, you know, that's how things happened on the show. I was trying to think of what somebody should say to what a guy like Turtle would say to Tom Brady. And I said, Jerry, you're a Brooklyn guy. I'm not like such a fucking loudmouth that I would yell at Tom Brady, but like back in your day, what would you say? And he said, you know what, let's call my buddy, I forget who he called, but he called his buddy back in Brooklyn and said, if you ran into Tom Brady, what would you say? He goes, I'd tell him he sucks balls. And that's what we used, you know, and that's kind of how everything went on the show. It was just a real group, you know, coming together and trying to make something that we all liked.
Well, when you mentioned Jeremy Piven, it's funny that, you know, he was on Seinfeld on the pilot, and he's so versatile that you look at Jeremy as Ari, who is friggin' phenomenal. I'm sure you hear that all the time.
Yeah.
To think that he was playing George, and he looks totally different and such a great actor. I mean,
what's so funny is I really hadn't seen Jeremy's physical transformation. So when I wrote him, he's in the first meeting at HBO, which is a year and change before I'm ever even going to get to offer Jeremy this role or talk to him about it. I wrote him in my script, but he was playing somebody else. There was no Ari. I had never met the real Ari yet. So he was playing my agent, who was closer to George, short, bald, a little heavy set. And when I met the real Ari, I said, this is the character. And then when I met with Jeremy, he had gotten into great shape. He'd gotten his hair back somehow, however that works. And you know, it was just kind of magical, to be honest with you. And again, he's another one, you know, that I don't know that there's anyone on earth who could have been better for that part. So,
yeah, no, he was, and again, every single character was perfect. As a writer, what's it like writing for? And it wasn't just them. I mean, you had the women actors, and what's that like? Is it difficult making them all funny? And
I mean, it's the best when, you know, once you know you have the talent that you want. Then it's fun. Obviously, coming up with storylines are always challenging, but writing dialogue for people that you really get their voices and they get what you're trying to do is the best thing in the world. When you cast incorrectly, you know, then you're screwed, and writing becomes really difficult because you just don't have whatever that little internal engine that the actor gives you. So we were very fortunate that 95% of our casting choices were spot on. And that doesn't always happen. I had a show after that where the part that I had written that was clearly the best part on paper, I spent 7 months. I just couldn't cast it. And I couldn't find the right guy. So,
well, how great was it for you to be able to cast your son?
It was awesome, you know, and that was more of a fun thing for him. He was on set with Jeremy, and everyone was like, he's so funny. But you know, he went through the thing. He had to go in and read. And I told Sheila Jaffe, our great casting director, I'm like, there's no favors here. Either he's like the guy or he's not. And he really was great. And he could stand in there with Jeremy and go head to toe with him. So it was pretty cool.
That's awesome. What kind of behind the scenes stuff that maybe we don't know about can you share with me?
I mean, there's so much, you know.
I know. I would imagine.
I mean, we were really like, with the movie, it was a decade, you know. So there's tons of stuff, and still goes on. You know, we have a podcast that we sort of do. We used to do it more often, but you know, we've just been a good good solid group for 20 years now. So there's been tons of good times, and we've all had our little skirmishes at times also, but it just, it was a real family. And this new pilot that I shot with Charlie Sheen and Kevin Dillon and Kevin Conley was also, I mean, my entire crew from Entourage came back, probably 50 people who worked on that, and the actors from Dylan Connolly, Emmanuel, I know there's others, but so we're all still very close.
I'll tell you what, I love Charlie Sheen. So
Yeah.
I've always, in fact, I have tinnitus in my ears. I working on jets in the Navy, so I have a high pitched ringing. I can't go to sleep with it quiet. It drives me nuts. Actually, I fall asleep every night to 2.5 men. Yeah, because
Right.
I've seen it so many times. I don't even care. I'm
Yeah.
not getting into the show, but I find myself at midnight laughing at something stupid Charlie does.
Nice.
Yeah, my but it's, all those guys, they're amazing actors. And I don't want to keep saying that because you already know it's true, but I thank you for making a show that it cracks me up. And I always say to myself, when I start watching, I'll watch one or two Entourage. Next thing you know, I'm binging, and 5 hours later, I've been sitting on my couch for doing nothing but laughing my ass off at you
I love
guys.
it. I love it.
So
I wish I would. I wish I would write like that, but I just don't. It's people think it's a very easy thing to do, and good shows or bad shows. There's a lot of grind to getting those words on the page.
So I looked online. Everybody gets along to this day. I mean,
I don't know
all
about
the guys.
everybody, but a good
Yeah.
group. Certainly, certainly me and the four guys. Yeah, we certainly all get along.
I love the podcast too. A
Thanks.
couple of years ago, whatever you told me, check out Victory, and I've been listening to it. I love it. So
Oh, thanks. Hopefully, we'll keep it going. I don't know. I'm moving to Nashville next week, so we'll see what happens.
yeah, that's a big change from California.
Yep, it's going to be big. I mean, we'll see whether it's temporary or not, but we're going to give something different a try.
I've never been down there, but I did some charity work with John Rich, and he told me, you ever come down here, let me know. So
Yeah, people
we'll
love
see.
it, so we'll find out. But it's been a long time since I've had a winter, and I know that's not East Coast winters, but still a lot different than LA.
Well, I'll bet Jerry was hating winter last year in Cleveland. It was the worst one I ever remember.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I'm
But
sure.
a Brooklyn guy. I don't know what winters are like in Brooklyn, but I would imagine he probably had a
They're
few.
bad. They're bad, but not Cleveland.
Yeah.
Cleveland's closer to Buffalo type stuff.
So when you were making the show, looking back, which character do you think evolved the most out of all of them?
Probably Turtle, probably, is my guess. I mean, I tried to definitely evolve most of them, but I think Ari's pretty much the guy he was, and Vince is pretty much the guy he was, and he was pretty much the guy he was, and Drama. So I would say Turtle's probably the only one who really evolved. And, typically in sitcoms, which, this isn't like your standard 2.5 minute sitcom, but the characters don't usually evolve. If you watch Cheers, Norm is, he's the same for 10 seasons, however many seasons they did. He comes in, drinks his beer, and tells a joke. But, we definitely tried to do stuff that was more cinematic, more movie-like. And but I think Turtle is definitely, from season 1 to 8, is probably the biggest change.
Yeah, I figured that too. And especially at the end when he went through that whole weight transformation and everything too. Was that written in there, or was he just like...
No. And it's funny because if you look at look, the culture's changed, and you don't want to ever tell somebody to be unhealthy. But, if Jerry, who got in shape on his own, if he did that 25 years ago on a TV show, they'd fire him, but he's one of my closest friends. And I'm like, I cannot not encourage this guy to get himself healthy, which, his transformation was mind boggling. I mean, he changed his diet a little before, because I think, and we'll see in Nashville, I know out here anyway, most people have kind of gotten on the health wave over the last 5 to 7 years. But Jerry was doing that 15 years ago, and it was so rare. And he completely changed it. And, my hat's off to him. I wish I jumped on it with him at that point, But he really changed everything about his habits and his diet and his workouts, and it was great.
Yeah, he looks good.
Yeah.
You guys did a lot of product placement on the show too.
Zero. There is no product placement on the show. And I mean that sincerely. And it's funny because it's always been like this annoying thing. There was a review that came out about the show that said, "Oh, this fucking movie just like is like a commercial." And in the movie, I had this Cadillac. I forgot what the name of the Cadillac was. It wasn't even a real car. It was a test car, and I loved it so much that I convinced Cadillac to let us use it, which they were so against because they're like, this does nothing for us because this car doesn't exist. So every product on the show was either something that I loved or something that a friend of mine brought to me. We weren't paid for any of it, which believe me is a shame because we could have been. And but we did no product placements. Everything in there is truly organic. From if you look back on the show, I think we were the first FaceTime phone call that ever happened on television, certainly amongst the first. And that was simply because I was using Apple products very early on and became obsessed with them. So the Maserati was just a car that I absolutely loved, which the president of Maserati said to me, because you made this car. Like, people were buying it because of the show, but they didn't give me a car. They didn't give me any money, but I wish they did.
Wow. And speaking of cars, the car in the opening credits, whose was that?
So, well, whose actually was it?
Yeah.
I mean, I forget his name because I do know him, because there's not that many of them. But that choice wasn't even mine. We hired a company that does opening title sequences, and that was what they came up with. And when they used that car, I said, "This is Drama's car. This is great." So that kind of tells you how some things can be a happy accident, because that the car feels so iconic to the show. But that had, I mean, literally the guy who comes up with it, his name is Maurice. I forget his last name. I mean, that is all him. And then I take it and I run with it for the next 10 years,
Right. Yeah. That opening scene and that song was perfect.
Yeah. The song also is never, I mean, I wrote in the script, I wrote Funk 49, Joe Walsh, which I actually used it in the last scene of season 1. And then when he shot the opening titles, which we loved, we put Funk 49 to it. It just, something didn't work. And he picked that song, which I love it, but never in a million years would I have come up with that song.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. So what did you think of the movie?
I mean, I think the movie is exactly what the show is. And, I'm sitting here, I have the test results next to me, which, were through the roof. And Warner Brothers, the president of Warner Brothers said, you will never see test results like this again in your career. That's how good they were. And the truth is, the movie, the exit polls, which people walk out of the theater and they go, "What do you think of the movie?" And the people that went and paid for it loved it. But the reviews never did. The Me Too movement was still 2 years away probably, but it was there. And, the culture that we've watched changed, which the journalists came out of their schools. And I think most people realize that journalists 30, 40 years ago were more working class, and they started to become more elitists. And when the reviews came out, to be honest, everybody was shocked. So what do I think of the movie? If you like the show, you like the movie. And if you turned on the movie, you wouldn't even know it's not the show. Now, that being said, did I want to make the movie? Not really. And if it was today, it would have been an HBO Max movie, which would have been a better situation for all of us. I just didn't think we needed it to be in a movie theater, but they paid me a lot of money and I said yes. But that being said, I still am as proud of it as anything else.
Yeah, that's awesome. What are the chances of a reboot?
0.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess nothing's ever 0, but it certainly was a show that HBO kind of forgot that we were nominated for 50 Emmys. And the New York Times said we were the smartest show on TV when we came out, and 6 straight Golden Globes, because they've been the one show. We've been the one show, for whatever their reasons are, that they certainly have not tried to embrace the reboot. And we were definitely, weirdly enough, for a show that was off the air for a decade, when the culture really shifted, we were certainly like this target. I mean, every day I'd wake up with a Google alert to tell me what a fucking racist and a homophobe I was. And I was like, what the fuck is happening? And so I don't know. I mean, anything's possible, but it's not something I even am that interested in, but who knows?
What did Mark Wahlberg think of the show?
I mean, he loved it, I mean, Mark, he just posted something the other day about a watch he has, calling it the Ari Gold. So Mark was great. Mark couldn't have been more supportive when we started. I knew Mark for a long time, but I don't think he really knew my writing. And I said, Mark, I need to make this more about my friends than yours, because I don't know your friends. And I need to make this New York, not Boston, which, are similar but very different at the same time. And he said, do whatever you want. Just don't make me look stupid. And Mark couldn't have been a bigger supporter and happier with the result.
Well, what's the craziest thing, real life experience that didn't make it in the show? Can you even?
I mean, there's so many. I mean, there's so many real life experiences that did make it in the show, but then I don't know. Honestly, I would have to really churn my brain. I mean, we've been off for 10 years,
I know.
So it's not something I when we look back and we watch the episodes on Victory of the podcast, then I talk about it, but I don't even know.
Do you have a favorite episode?
I mean, anytime somebody asks me, I'll say something different, but my favorite, when I think about it, I think about the personal behind the scenes things. And, it was my birthday, and, at the time, U2, I mean, I still love U2, even though for some reason the world seems to have turned on them as well. But, when we got U2 to be on the show on my birthday in real life and shot it on my birthday, and, Bono, which we had no idea what he was going to do or not do, gets on the stage and says, "Happy birthday, Johnny Drama," in Spanish. That was pretty special. And then, Mark Teixeira, awesome first baseman for the New York Yankees, got me Yankee Stadium. And, it was a dream come true with both my kids there and all my high school friends in the audience. So those things are what stands out to me behind the scenes more than my favorite written episode or how it came out, so I think about those moments.
Do you have a favorite line that you wrote?
I probably not. I mean, but I don't know. I mean, when I watch the show back, I can look at it as if I wasn't involved, and I do think there's a lot of really great lines in it. So yeah, I would have to really go back. I don't know if there'd be a favorite though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you could pick a favorite when you wrote so many. Did you have a dream actor that you really wanted to work with that maybe you didn't?
I mean, there were definitely lots of people we tried to get on the show, but I remember trying to get Michael Jordan. I remember trying to get Jimmy Page. So actors wise, Brad Pitt, we tried to get at one point, so there were many, but we still got so many great ones that, I don't even really think about the ones we didn't get.
I mean, I don't even know how you got Bai Ling. She was pretty much a no name, wasn't she?
She, internationally she had a big name, but she was awesome. And I don't remember exactly how that came about, but yeah, she was great.
But still, the whole Val Kilmer thing, I mean, he was A-list.
Yeah. I mean, Larry Charles, who worked on the show, was friends with him and said, "I'll get him." I was like, okay. I mean, that was early on. I'm like, okay, I'm sure you will. Next thing I know, Val Kilmer's on the set. Larry Charles got Larry David. When you asked me who one of my favorites were, Larry's one of my idols, having Larry David. I tried to get Albert Brooks, who's another one of my idols. We never got him, but having Larry was awesome, and Val was just wild, and doing it. Mostly what I wrote is I'm going to write people, I'm going to cast them where there's some version of what I think they are or what their presence is. Val was one of those actors who came in, I had no idea what he was going to do, and just put on a performance that was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Larry David, Curb Your Enthusiasm. I love that show. And last year I did a podcast with Chris Williams, who played Crazy Eyes Killer on
he's
Curb.
great.
So
he's great.
Yeah, that was awesome. So oh man, I just blanked here.
Don't worry.
What do you got going on now besides Victory? Are you writing at all?
I got a new thing that I'm debating whether I want to write anymore, to be honest with you, whether I want to get back into the grind of it or not. When we did Ramble On, which was the Charlie Sheen show, never in a million years did I think this thing wasn't going to. You can check out the trailer on my Instagram, but sorry, I'm just getting a text. So I'm debating coming up with something again. It's starting from scratch, and I'm hoping that new scenery around me gets me motivated again. But right now, I'm honestly having a very good time with this new child and playing a lot of pickleball, as you can see from the hat. It's my friend's podcast. Yep. So
I haven't even tried pickleball yet. I see those courts everywhere, Haven't tried it.
Get it going. That was another thing. Like I like to say, we had a lot of predictions on Entourage come true, and I was honestly probably one of the 1% playing pickleball before anyone else was, posting videos, getting abused about what is this stupid sport and this old man's game, and now it's grown into one of the. I think it really is the fastest growing sport in the world. You know.
Well, yeah, I saw you were somewhere, and then you're just like, "Hey, if anyone's in this park, I'm playing pickleball."
Yeah, and I'm doing that. I'm driving to Nashville next week, so I'm going to stop in 8 places where I don't know anybody, and just go find people to play pickleball with, which I would never do with any other sport. Like even basketball. Jerry and I used to have a basketball game for years out here. I would never go to like drive across the country and see if I could find pickup basketball games, even though it was really one of my favorite things to do in the world. Pickleball is a very different thing, and the community and the people that play it are just very committed and obsessed, and you always find a good group no matter where you are.
You driving through Cleveland?
I don't know. I think I got to check my directions, but I think Cleveland's Nashville were before there. I think.
Yeah, you'll
Not
probably
sure.
take the southern route to get there to Nashville.
Yeah, I think it's the 40 most of the way, but I'm not positive. I know I'm in Flagstaff, Amarillo, OKC. So if you know anyone out there who plays pickleball, get it for me.
That's funny. Yeah, when I lived out in California, I loved it out there. I was 19, 20, came out there. I lived in Lemoore in the San Joaquin Valley, like right by Fresno.
Right.
So we used to come down to LA all the time. My uncle lived in Glendale.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I got to meet Craig T. Nelson out there. That was and the one guy from Revenge of the Nerds. I met him.
Who, Anthony Edwards?
No, I wish. Gilbert.
He was great.
Yeah, he was filming a movie at Six Flags.
I wonder where he is. Yeah. My friends still quote Revenge of the Nerds 40 years later all the time. So
yeah, it's funny is my kid. I have 2 kids. Well, my daughter just graduated, but my son's in college. And when she joined a sorority, I'm like, oh man, because all I could think of was Revenge of the Nerds, and I'm like, I'm not gonna like this at all. And it was nothing like Revenge of the Nerds, thank God.
what's crazy is my daughter's boyfriend and his fraternity at Boulder, they call the pledges Lloyds. Okay, so these are 21-year-olds. They call them Lloyd. So when they're screaming for pledges, they go Lloyd, which is pretty wild. And nothing to do with my daughter, just randomly. So like to see this next generation actually pick up the show. And like you said, with your son, they're watching far less television than we were watching 20 years ago. But still, it's finding people, which is cool.
Well, I'll tell you, when I told him I was doing this with you, and he's like, "Who's Doug Ellin?" I'm like, "Entourage," and he's like, "No, he doesn't watch. He doesn't watch
it. Tell him it's a rite of passage. Tell him to get on that one though. He could watch it.
I'm going to send a message to all of his college buddies and tell them that they need to start.
Where are they in school?
At the University of Akron.
Because I meet a lot of college kids that are watching now, which is wild because it disappeared for a while and it kind of came back the last 3 years. But yeah, tell them to get on it.
Is it in syndication?
We did syndicate, but it's on HBO Max.
Yeah, that's where I've been watching it. I love that show. Did I mention that I love Entourage?
I appreciate it. I can't hear it enough.
Again, thank you so much for making such an amazing show. When I watch it, I don't have a care in the world, and I guess it makes me wonder what it would be like to be an A-list actor.
Yeah,
if it's anything like Vinny Chase.
Yeah, I never got to be one, but I would love that also.
Well, you're doing pretty good out there as it is. So, well, listen, I really appreciate you doing this. I don't want to take up more of your time. I'm sure you got, packing and the dogs and the kids.
Yeah, just life. So, but anyway, I appreciate it and be good. And I'm gonna hit you up for a flag.
Yeah. Let me know when you get down there. I'll send you one.
All right. Thanks so much.
All right, Doug. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yep. All right. Be good.
All right. Bye.